What happens when your cousin brings a lawyer to a hospital bed to seize control of the family business? The truth shocked us all. I never thought a hospital room would become the battleground for our family business, but here we are. My uncle Peter, the head of our small but thriving construction company, was lying in a hospital bed after emergency heart surgery. The room smelled like disinfectant, and the steady beep of the heart monitor made every conversation feel sharper, heavier. Family gathered around, worried, sick, but also restless, because everyone knew what was at stake. The company. My cousin Jack was sitting right by Uncle Peter's side, holding his hand like he was the only one who cared. Jack's the type who can turn on the charm whenever it benefits him, and I could already see the way he was setting the stage. "I'll make sure everything runs smoothly, Uncle," Jack said softly, like he was already slipping into the role of successor. Aunt Linda, Peter's sister, shot me a look across the room. She didn't trust Jack any more than I did. "Peter," she said gently, "you don't need to worry about the company right now. Just focus on recovering. We'll handle things together." Jack didn't miss a beat. "Together? Or do you mean divided? Because that's what happens when too many people are pulling the strings." He tightened his grip on Peter's hand, lowering his voice but making sure we all heard. "You need someone you can count on." The emotional manipulation was so obvious it made my stomach turn. He wasn't just playing the dutiful nephew, he was weaponizing Peter's vulnerability. My dad, Michael, cleared his throat. "Jack, this isn't the time. Your uncle just got out of surgery, talking about business right now." But Peter looked at Jack with tired, grateful eyes. "He's right though, someone has to make sure things don't fall apart while I'm in here." Jack leaned closer. "And that someone should be me. I've been working under you for years, Uncle. I know the ins and outs better than anyone." That last part stung because it wasn't even true. Jack had been around, sure, but mostly doing flashy surface level jobs while the rest of us did the grunt work. I'd spent late nights in freezing warehouses sorting inventory, while he was out bragging about being management. I opened my mouth to call him out, but my aunt squeezed my arm to stop me. "Not here," she whispered. The atmosphere in that room was suffocating. Every beep of the machine felt like a countdown to Peter's decision, and Jack knew exactly how to press the right emotional button. He talked about loyalty, a family, and carrying the torch, making himself sound like some hero sacrificing everything when in reality, he was cornering a sick man into naming him successor. And the worst part? It looked like it was working. When Peter closed his eyes and nodded weakly, Jack smiled, just slightly. It wasn't a smile of relief. It was victory. I knew then this wasn't just a hospital visit. It was a takeover. The next day, I walked back into the hospital with a pit in my stomach. The sterile white walls felt colder than usual, like they were holding secrets. Aunt Linda was already there, pacing near the vending machines with a cup of coffee she clearly wasn't drinking. "He's already moving pieces," she muttered as soon as she saw me. "What do you mean?" I asked. "Jack called the office last night, told the managers that he's temporarily in charge, didn't even wait for Peter to say it officially." She clenched her jaw. "It's like he's circling a wounded animal." We went upstairs together, and sure enough, when we opened the door, Jack was standing at the foot of the hospital bed with a clipboard, looking like he owned the place. He had Peter propped up with extra pillows, like he was some CEO holding a board meeting from his seat. "Uncle, I've already spoken with Mark and the site supervisors," Jack was saying smoothly. "They're on board with me streamlining operations until you're fully recovered." Peter looked exhausted, but he gave a faint nod. Good, I can't have chaos." I couldn't hold it in anymore. Chaos, the only chaos is Jack pretending he's running the show. The rest of us have been keeping things afloat while he's been cherry-picking the easy jobs. Jack turned, eyes narrowing, that fake smile plastered across his face. "Oh, here we go. You think sorting supplies and babysitting subcontractors makes you leadership material." He tilted his head mockingly. "This isn't about hard work, it's about vision." "Vision?" I shot back. "You mean manipulation? You're cornering him when he's at his weakest." Peter lifted a trembling hand, clearly trying to stop us, but Jack spoke over him. "Uncle, listen to how emotional they're getting. Is that who you want making business decisions, people who can't separate family drama from real responsibility?" And Linda snapped. "Don't you dare. You're the one dragging family into this. You're playing nurse just so you can slide into the boss's chair." Jack's eyes darkened, and for the first time, his mask slipped. "Someone has to, otherwise, vultures from outside this family will take over." He glanced at me and Linda, like we were the vultures. My dad walked in then, holding a folder of financial documents. He froze, sensing the tension. "What's going on?" "Dad," I said quickly. Jack's trying to crown himself king while Uncle's lying here hooked up to machines. Jack folded his arms. "I'm not trying, I'm stepping up. If you want the business to survive, you'll stop fighting me and start supporting me." The room went quiet except for the beeping monitors. Peter looked torn, sweat beading on his forehead. He whispered, "Stop please," but his voice was barely audible. For a split second, I wondered if we'd pushed him too far, if this fight might literally break him. And in that silence, Jack leaned forward and whispered just loud enough for me to hear. "You'll thank me when I've saved what you couldn't." It wasn't just manipulation anymore. It was a threat. That night, the confrontation exploded. I came back to the hospital with my dad after hours, carrying dinner for Uncle Peter since he hated the bland hospital trays. When we opened the door, we found Jack sitting there in the dark, just the glow from the monitor reflecting off his face. He wasn't holding Uncle's hand this time, he was holding the folder my dad had brought earlier. "What the hell are you doing?" my dad barked. Jack didn't even flinch. "Looking out for the company," he said, flipping through the papers like they belonged to him. "Your books are a mess. Do you know how many unnecessary expenses are bleeding us dry?" Dad stepped forward, snatching the folder out of his hands. "That's not for you to decide." Jack stood towering over him. "It's exactly for me to decide. Uncle's not in shape to deal with this, and he pointed a finger at my daddy. You've been too sentimental to make the cuts that need to be made. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears. Jack, stop acting like you're some savior. You're using his hospital bed as your boardroom table. Peter stared, opening his eyes weakly. What's happening? Jack immediately softened, crouching beside him like an actor slipping into character. Don't worry, Uncle, I'm just protecting what you built. I'm the only one willing to make the tough calls. My dad shook his head, furious. Tough calls? You mean power grabs? You've been waiting for this moment. Jack turned to him sharply. You've always been jealous that Uncle trusted me more. You think you deserve the throne because you're his brother, but this isn't about blood, it's about who's strong enough. That word throne sent a chill through me. This wasn't business to Jack. This was a shot at being king. Then Aunt Linda stormed in, clutching her purse like it was a weapon. Enough, she snapped. Peter, you listen to me. If you let this boy worm his way in, he'll strip everything for his own gain. Don't let him write history. Jack whirled on her. History, please. You were never around when the company needed you. I was there at the sites. I learned how to talk to clients. I cut him off. You learned how to sweet-talk clients while the rest of us carried the weight. Don't pretend you built this. Peter groaned, covering his face with one hand. Stop, please. But Jack didn't stop. He leaned in closer to him, voice low but firm. Uncle, you know I'm right. You know they'll tear each other apart if you don't put me in charge. Say I'm the one. The room fell silent. For a second, I thought Peter might actually give in just to end the fighting. His lips parted, and Jack's eyes lit up, ready to claim victory again. But instead, Peter whispered something none of us expected. Michael, you handle it. Jack's face froze, like someone had slapped him across the mouth. The air in that hospital room turned electric after Uncle Peter's words. Michael, you handle it. My dad's face went pale, like he hadn't even wanted the responsibility but now had no choice. Aunt Linda exhaled with visible relief, finally setting her purse down. But Jack looked like someone had ripped the ground out from under him. You can't be serious, Jack, his voice rising. After everything I've done for you? Peter's hand trembled as he adjusted his oxygen mask. You're impulsive, Jack, not ready. Jack's jaw clenched so tight I thought his teeth might crack. Not ready? I've been preparing for this for years. Meanwhile, he jabbed a finger at my dad, has been clinging to the past, refusing to innovate, running things the same way since the 90s. You call that leadership? Better than scheming in a hospital room, I snapped. Jack rolled on me, eyes blazing. Don't start with me. You've always been jealous I had his trust. I laughed bitterly. Trust? You mean manipulation. You're a snake, Jack. You made yourself a fixture at his bedside not out of love, but because you thought you could corner him into crowning you king. Shut your mouth. Jack barked, stepping toward me. Enough. Aunt Linda shouted, stepping between us. Peter made his choice, respect it or leave. But Jack wasn't backing down. He turned to Peter, his voice dripping with venom now, all pretense of care gone. If you think you can run the company better than me, you're out of your mind. He'll run it into the ground in a year, and then what? Everything you built will be gone. You'll have no legacy. Peter's face tightened with pain, and the monitor beeped faster. Dev rushed forward. Jack, you're stressing him out, get out. But Jack leaned closer to Peter instead. Say it to me, say it now, before it's too late. Don't let them steal this from me. It was sick. I could see the emotional manipulation shifting into outright desperation. He wasn't just fighting for power anymore, he was begging, demanding, trying to claw it out of a sick man's mouth. Jack, my dad said firmly, stepping between him and the bed, if you care about him at all, you'll leave right now. Jack's voice cracked, the mask of confidence slipping. No, I deserve this. I've earned it. Don't you all see? Without me, there's no future. Aunt Linda grabbed his arm. Listen to yourself. This isn't ambition anymore, it's obsession. He shook her off violently, eyes wild. For a second, I thought he might actually shove past Dad and force Peter to say something he didn't mean just to end the argument. But then Peter coughed, gasping for air, and the nurses rushed in. All of you out, but one of them barked. We were herded into the hallway, the door slamming shut behind us. My heart was pounding, and Aunt Linda looked like she might cry. Jack stood there, fists clenched, breathing hard. And then he said the words that made my blood run cold. If I can't have the company, none of you will. The hallway outside Peter's room was dead silent after Jack's words. If I can't have the company, none of you will. Aunt Linda gasped, covering her mouth. My dad stared at him like he was seeing a stranger. I just felt my stomach drop because Jack wasn't bluffing. What the hell does that mean? I demanded. Jack smirked, a twisted kind of calm washing over his face. It means you all underestimated me. While you were playing nice family, I was making moves. You think I need Peter's blessing? The managers already respect me. The suppliers like me better than any of you. And the clients, they'd rather deal with someone young and sharp than a man who still writes checks by hand. He glanced at my dad with that cutting smirk. Dad's fist clenched. Don't play games, Jack. You were talking about sabotaging your own family's business. Jack's eyes hardened. It's not sabotage if it's survival. Before any of us could respond, his phone buzzed. He pulled it out casually, scrolling, then muttered, Good, Phase 1 is already in motion. Phase 1. Aunt Linda repeated, her voice trembling. Jack slid the phone back in his pocket. Let's just say some contracts are being redirected, new partnerships. A few of the crews know where their future lies, and it's not under Michael. I felt my blood boil. You're stealing from your own uncle while he's lying in a hospital bed. Are you insane? Jack leaned in close, lowering his voice so only I could hear. Insane? Or finally smart enough to stop playing second fiddle? I shoved him back, and for a second, I wanted to hit him. Dad grabbed my shoulder, holding me back. Don't. That's exactly what he wants. The tension broke when the nurse opened the door, glaring. You three need to leave if you can't keep it down. He needs rest. We shuffled a few steps down the hall, but Jack stayed rooted, arms crossed. Go ahead, tell him I'm the villain, it won't matter. By the time he's discharged, the company won't be his to give away. Aunt Linda's eyes narrowed. What have you done, Jack? He just smirked again and walked away, hands in his pockets like nothing happened. The second he turned the corner, Dad pulled out his phone. We need to call Mark and the supervisors. If Jack's already trying to shift contracts, we can't let him. But when he dialed, no one picked up. He tried again and again, pacing the hallway. Finally, he cursed under his breath. Voicemail, all of them. A sinking feeling spread through me. Jack wasn't lying, he'd already gone to them. Aunt Linda whispered, oh my God, he's actually going to burn it all down, just to prove a point. I didn't know what scared me more, that he could succeed, or that he was willing to take everything down if he couldn't be in charge. And the worst part? Uncle Peter had no idea what was happening while he lay in that bed, thinking Jack was just his diverted nephew. Fallout hit faster than any of us expected. The morning after Jack stormed out of the hospital, my dad's phone started buzzing non-stop. First, it was a subcontractor furious that their payment hadn't cleared. Then a supplier called, saying the lumber order for one of our biggest projects had been cancelled. By noon, 3 clients had left voicemails saying they were reconsidering their contracts. All the while, Jack was radio silent. Dad slammed his phone on the cafeteria table. He's pulling strings behind the scenes. He's making us look unreliable. Aunt Linda looked pale, stirring her coffee without drinking it. Peter can't hear about this. If he knows Jack is tearing the business apart, it could send him back into surgery. I rubbed my temples. So what do? We can't just wait around while he dismantles everything. Dad leaned in. We fight back. We talk to the crews directly, face to face. If Jack's been feeding them lies, we give them the truth. So that's what we did. While Aunt Linda stayed with Peter, Dad and I spent the entire afternoon calling foremen, driving to sites, and meeting people in half-lit jailers that smelled like sweat and stale coffee. Some of the guys listened. Some didn't. A few avoided us altogether. Jack said you're stepping down. One supervisor told us bluntly. He said Peter appointed him before the surgery. That true? Dad's face flushed. No, it's not true. Peter asked me to handle things. Jack's trusting it. The guy crossed his arms. Well, Jack's offering bonuses for loyalty. He's promising more hours, steady work. What are you offering? I could see the defeat in my dad's eyes. We didn't have cash to hand out like candy. We only had trust and history, and Jack knew that wasn't enough to compete. By the time we dragged ourselves back to the hospital that evening, we were exhausted and no closer to stopping him. And then we saw him. Jack was already there, sitting by Peter's bed again, like nothing had happened. He looked up when we walked in, smiling faintly. Rough day. My dad stiffened. You've been sabotaging contracts. Jack shrugged. Sabotage, no. Realignment. The business is shifting, and I'm just ahead of the curve. He patted Peter's hand gently. Don't worry, Uncle. I've got everything under control. Peter looked at us confused. Michael, what's going on? I opened my mouth, but Jack cut me off. They're panicking because they don't understand the future, but I do, and I won't let them ruin what you built. It was masterful. He sounded calm, reassuring, like the voice of reason while painting us as hysterical. Dad took a step forward, trembling with anger. You're poisoning him against us. Jack leaned back in his chair smug. No, I'm showing him who's strong enough to lead, and every minute you waste fighting me, the more you prove you're not. The hot monitor beat steadily in the background. But for me, it felt like a ticking clock. If we didn't stop Jack soon, there wouldn't be a family business left to save. The breaking point came 2 days later. We had managed to patch a few holes Jack left behind, but the damage was spreading faster than we could keep up. Crews were confused about who to answer to, suppliers hesitated to fill orders, and rumours were flying everywhere. It was like trying to plug a sinking ship with our bare hands. That morning, Aunt Linda called me in a panic. You need to get to the hospital now. Jack's here with a lawyer. My stomach dropped. When I burst into the room with my dad right behind me, the sight made my blood run cold. Jack was standing at the foot of the bed, a slick-looking man in a suit by his side. Uncle Peter looked small and frail under the fluorescent lights, pen trembling in his hand. Jack looked up, all fake sweetness. Perfect timing. Uncle's about to sign a temporary transfer of authority, just until he's back on his feet, of course. Were you kidding me? I snapped. You're railroading him while he's still hooked up to machines. The lawyer cleared his throat. Mr. Carter has assured me this is his wish. No, my dad barked, snapping between them. This isn't his wish, this is manipulation. He's in no state to make business decisions right now. Jack's smile turned razor sharp. Funny, because the law doesn't say anything about feelings. It says if he's competent enough to speak, he's competent enough to sign. I looked at Peter. His hands were shaking, his eyes darting between us. He was scared. Scared of making the wrong choice, scared of disappointing someone he loved. That's exactly what Jack was counting on. Uncle, I said gently, walking closer. Look at me, you don't have to do this. You already made your choice. Don't let him bully you into changing it. Jack's voice sliced in. Don't listen to them. They don't believe in you. They just want to use your name while they run the company into the ground. Dad's voice cracked with emotion. Peter, please, I promised you I'd take care of it. Don't let him undo everything. The room was thick with tension, every word bouncing off the beeping monitor like a gunshot. Finally, Peter dropped the pen. His voice came out hoarse but firm. Enough. Jack, I love you. But this, he gestured weakly at the papers. This is not love, this is control. Jack froze, his face twisting. No, you don't understand. I'm the only one who can protect what you built. But Peter shook his head. Michael will handle it. That's final. Silence. For a long moment, Jack just stood there, breathing heavily, the lawyer shifting awkwardly beside him. Then, without a word, Jack grabbed the papers, crumpled them in his fist, and stormed out. The door slammed so hard it rattled the frame. I exhaled, realizing I'd been holding my breath. Aunt Linda started to cry quietly. Dad sank into the chair beside Peter, gripping his hand. It was over. Jack had lost. But the way he left, that storm in his eyes, I knew this wasn't the last we'd hear from him.